5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right here. 4 tires of fuel. Go, 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 go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Forward Field Podcast, episode 5 today. And as you can see, my camera is a little different. I've got a webcam, so I'm on the desktop that I have in the studio. So looking a little clearer, hopefully sounding a little better. And I am excited for this one because who does not love Wednesday night Martinsville racing? We're going to get that towards the end, save the best for last. But we're going to start off with welcoming back 3 guys. No 4 guys today. Brandon is at sea, so hopefully we'll get him back for the next podcast. But Steve, welcome back, man. How's it going?
Hey, it's going good, man. A little bit of a hectic schedule right now. Started a new job yesterday, so just looking forward to get back into the podcasting. And you're right, who doesn't love Wednesday night Martinsville racing?
Yeah, good to see Steve get back on, that payroll. He's going to be making some money. Hopefully, maybe, helping out the Forward Field Podcast and maybe advance a little bit.
That's right, a little sponsorship.
And another man that's working right now, Wesley Riddle. Wes, how's it going at work?
Oh, it's been pretty good. I worked a couple hours today. I'll be unfortunately missing a little bit of the race tomorrow. I work a late night shift as well, but I'm going to try to get off early if I can, try to catch the last little bit of Martinsville. But for the most part, it's been good. How's life treating you?
Thanks for asking me. Steve kind of, missed it that time. You got him back, and we're looking good. Just like you did. You picked the winner. You caught back at Steve, and Steve, he's slacking a little bit. Steve, maybe on the downhill here.
Hey, always time for a rebound. I slacked this last week. Time for a rebound, though.
We'll give Steve the break. He's got the job, just started this week. We'll give him a break. But I'm doing pretty well. I'm just excited to be back. Nothing really hasn't changed. So I always look forward to doing these podcasts. And Kevin, you're doing a little bit of work yourself. You've been writing. You've been, delivering. How's it going?
Going good, doing some DoorDash and, writing some articles, whatever, for fans cited and getting a little bit of cash. So, yeah, it's been good. It's been pretty easy going here during quarantine. So,
and fun fact about Kevin, we were talking about 5 guys last week and how Wes and I always get, the bacon cheeseburger, 2 patties with grilled onions, grilled mushrooms, and mayo. Unfortunately for Kevin, he can't get the cheese on the burger. Kevin, can you explain that?
Yeah, man, lactose intolerant. I can't eat cheese or I'll start pooping and all that stuff. So I can't be eating the cheese or else it's gonna be a long night. So it's tough.
Yeah, we don't want that, going on during the podcast. We don't want you squirming around like Max Kellerman does sometimes on First Take.
Hey, shit, true.
All right, so we're gonna get into it today. We're gonna talk about Atlanta. I thought it was some good racing. First topic we're going to dive into, and I'll hand this one to Wes. Wes, the racing we saw at Atlanta, for years they've been talking about doing a repave, and, they just keep pushing it back. Do you think it's time for Atlanta to jump and get into a repave?
I wouldn't mind it, to be completely honest. I think that the track itself, for the most part, there are some positives and negatives to it, but I feel like we still see a little bit of kind of the old Atlanta. I feel like the package does have a little bit to do with how the cars drive, especially kind of where we are now in comparison to what we saw back in like 2011, 2012, that time. I think a repave would be interesting, but also a make or break situation for NASCAR, especially going to that track, because Atlanta has been such an important one since 2001, especially this entire decade, I would say. Ever since it came around, I feel like Atlanta's been one of the highlights of the season. A lot of memorable finishes there in the Trucks Xfinity and, of course, the Cup Series. So it would be important for them to try to find the right balance with the new cars that are coming in next season, or I'm sorry, not next season, but the season after, and then trying to be able to figure out if it's going to work out with the track itself. But I wouldn't mind it. Then again, I feel like it might be safe to wait until we maybe actually get the new cars just to see how they handle the track currently.
Yeah, I think when it comes to repaving Atlanta, it's been a fantastic track over the years. But then again, over these past few years, the racing has been more spread out, less passing per se. But I think that has a lot to do with the package they're racing with. I think if you get the high horsepower, low downforce package, it'll fit Atlanta better. The field got spread out, but I just don't think that's an issue. I just think that's a product of Atlanta. All the drivers are fighting their cars the whole race. And I don't know, for a casual fan, I guess it's not the most exciting thing, but it's fun seeing those guys, wheel the cars the whole race. Steve, I just want to get your opinion on maybe a potential repave for Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Wes said, it might be time for a potential repave. It's been over 20 years since the last time I got repaved. But I think what we saw on Sunday had a lot more to do with the package, the low low horsepower, high downforce. But I think what made Atlanta races were the high horsepower, low downforce races. All the cars slipping and sliding around the 200 miles an hour into the corner, and now we just don't really see that anymore. I thought the racing that we did get to see before the single file kind of came along, but was all right. But there's definitely some room for improvement. I think just what everybody wants is the high horsepower, low downforce package back that we had a couple years ago, where the racing was just fantastic at Atlanta. So I think if they give it a shot at maybe changing the rules package one more time, and if it happens to be not so good racing anymore, then maybe it's time for repave. But I think for right now, just start fresh on a package and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, definitely. I think my audio issues are. I think hopefully they're resolved.
Yeah, they're good.
All right, cool. Yeah, the Zoom kind of changed the output on my audio, so it made it seem like it wanted to come from my headset right here, when I have this microphone right here that would pick up better audio. So I think we got that all squared away, and we'll jump into the next topic. It's the Xfinity and the Truck Series. And Kevin, with the Xfinity race, we got to see AJ Allmendinger get his first career win on an oval. How big do you think that is, coming from a guy who is more known for his road course racing?
I think that's huge for him, especially, like how you said, he's known for being more of a road course master. And he's able to finally get a win on oval, which seems easier to get a win on oval, but, road courses are his strength. But, obviously, looking back at what he's been through the past few years or so, definitely a very good win for him. You saw the emotion on his face in his interview and that sort of thing. So I think it was a really good win for him. And hopefully this is just the tiny bit of what we should be able to see from him in the future.
Yeah, AJ Allmendinger, longtime Cup veteran, racing part-time for Kaulig Racing in the Xfinity Series. Atlanta, we saw people like Marcus Ambrose have success there. I don't know if it has something to do with more, you've got to drive the race car, and that's just how road course racing is. You're more, you have no time to really let down your guard, because if you let down your guard in Atlanta, you're spinning or you're in the wall. You let down your guard at the road course, you're off the track. Maybe it's something to do with that. But Dinger getting it after the top three sped on the final pit stop definitely helped him out, gets him a win, maybe some confidence, and now he's sitting on standby duty for Martinsville for Austin Dillon. So maybe he gets a chance to race at Martinsville, one of his best tracks, had a second-place finish there back in 2012. Would be kind of interesting to see AJ Allmendinger get in a ride. And now the truck race had a interesting finish. I'm going to go to Steve with this one. You've experienced this as, a Chase Elliott fan. Have the race in sight, and you get a caution late, and then you just don't have the car to do it on the restart. How upsetting is that for Austin Hill, the hometown guy, not being able to finish the deal?
Yeah, I'm sure Chase Elliott can relate to that, and a lot of Chase Elliott fans can relate to that too. Of you're just got the race on lock, you got the win almost coming, and then a late race caution comes out, and then it's game on from there. Either it could be a bad pit stop, it could be a bad restart, and of course we just saw on the restart, Grant Enfinger just was able to work that high side and just carry that momentum. That's the great thing about Atlanta, multi-groove racetrack, and you can just carry that momentum on the high side. So you got to feel for Austin Hill. He had that race pretty well in control, but it was good to see Grant Enfinger back in victory lane, a good, regular of the series. So now it's just how far can he go? Can he make a serious run at the championship? We saw him win the regular season championship a year or two ago. So now it's just to see, he's got 2 wins on the year. How far can that 98 team go this year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Definitely not what Austin Hill wanted, but Austin Hill looking good. He finished last year really well, got a win at Homestead, and he's looking really competitive this year. Maybe Austin Hill could be a serious championship threat in the Truck Series. And we're going to, transition back to the Cup Series. Wes, I know you had to be impressed with Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch starting the race a lap down essentially after failing pre-race inspection 3 times. Had to start the race, doing a drive-through that put him a lap down. And he was able to come back and get a top 10 finish after, being a lap down and, the field being hard to pass. Talk about Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch is such an interesting story. I feel like ever since he's joined Chip Ganassi, I think a lot of people kind of wrote him off as being somebody that isn't really a contender anymore. He's well past his prime and aged. And, of course, a lot of drivers, they're never really the same as they were in their prime. And Kurt Busch has definitely fallen off a little bit, but I wouldn't say that much because, especially this year alone, he's been really consistent. I feel like that he's a guy that we haven't really talked a lot about because he hasn't been getting stage points. He hasn't been really competing in the top 10 for the first half of the race, but I feel like it's always what comes down in the home stretch. And Kurt Busch has been excellent at that. We saw at Bristol, especially just last week. He wasn't a contender at all pretty much the whole race, but somehow was able to sneak in there at one of his best tracks and pull off a top 10 and was just able to keep the car clean and was able to stay out of trouble. Even though he did get in one little wreck there when Jimmy Johnson turned Ricky Stenhouse, but he was able to pull through with that. And then again here, we see the team battling through adversity, going that lap down early on, being able to rebound back. Kurt Busch, I guess he got almost a top 5 finish in that race. I think that we could see a lot more from Kurt Busch this season, and I wouldn't count him out as being a potential winner. I think that we could see him maybe win 2 or 3 races this year, depending on how much they're able to back up not only these past few races and their performances, but being able to get inside the top 5, get some more stage points, and just trying to find a little bit extra there at the end. Because if he can do that, I feel like Kurt Busch right now is kind of one of the sleeper picks. I wouldn't say for a championship, but I would definitely say to make it far in the chase if he can get there. So I think that Kurt Busch, it was definitely a great performance. But I do think that he definitely does have a lot of potential this season. I feel like it definitely helps too, having Matt Kenseth as a teammate to kind of rely on, because those two, both former champions, I guess they won back-to-back championships. They're veterans of the sport. They know how to work together, especially in situations like this, with Kenseth coming in pretty late with the team. Not too late in the season, but at least not really what they expected for the year. So I feel like just the teamwork there, and then the adversity that they're able to come through and just be able to knock out these consistent finishes, I think that's going to help Kurt, especially in the long run, because if what he's doing now is just getting top 10s, what are we going to see the rest of the season? So I'd expect a lot more from him later on this year.
Yeah, Kurt Busch has been great ever since coming to Chip Ganassi Racing. If you want to, learn more about Kurt Busch's, I don't know how to put it now, not adventure, but, journey through the Cup Series from, 99, 2000, all the way to now, you should definitely check out the Kurt Busch episode on the Dale Jr. Download. He really goes in depth about what he did that was right and what was wrong and why he decided to go back to an underfunded team and work his way back up to competitive rides. Because he could have gone to Richard Petty Motorsports, but decided not to and decided to build his career back up through James Finch. And now that's got him in a competitive ride again and competing for more wins. Now I want to go into our new segment, the Splash and Go fan mail section. We've got a couple questions from some fans. First one is going to Kevin. He's going to have 1 minute to answer. Just nice, short, no real in-depth thought, but a nice, good, concise answer. This one comes from Dan from Utah. With everything going on in America right now, with the giant Black Lives Matter movement and racism movement, and drivers like Bubba saying there's no place for the Confederate flag in NASCAR and the president of NASCAR standing in the movement, is there any place for Kyle Larson in NASCAR again after this movement?
I would say in the near future, definitely no. Maybe sometime later down the road. It had to be a long time, but as of right now, especially with all this movement stuff going on, I just don't see any place for him. I feel like if they were to bring him back, it would definitely hurt NASCAR's credibility in that sort of thing. So in the near future, definitely no.
All right. And our next question, we're going to give it to Steve. This one comes from Kevin in New Jersey. What do you expect to see with the new super speedway package in a week and a half at Talladega?
I expect to see a lot of great racing like we saw last fall at Talladega and in the Daytona 500, except for the last lap. But I think we're going to see a lot of passing, a lot of 3-4 wide. We're going to see the traditional pack racing like we saw back in the early 2000s. We might even see at least a couple big ones, I feel like, but it's going to be a lot of pack racing.
All right. I think Talladega is going to be good. We're going to have 5,000 fans there, so working our way back up with fans. Definitely going to be a good test to see if NASCAR could put that all together, have a good outcome with fans at the racetrack. Hopefully we can get back out to the racetrack maybe with the Four and Field podcast. Hopefully we'll be there soon.
Maybe do a trackside podcast.
Oh, that's the goal here, the Four and Field podcast. Keep watching, keep up with us as we do have something planned, hopefully, for next year, but we're not going to talk about that right now. One thing we're going to talk about is Martinsville. The Martinsville night race is going to happen, a Wednesday night short track race, 500 laps under the lights in Martinsville. It doesn't get much better than that, and we're not going to talk too much of what we expect to see, but we're going to get to our picks. Now, we're doing a new format here with the picks. No one can pick the same driver twice. And based off of the results of our driver picks, that's how we're going to determine who picks first next week. So by virtue of picking Brad Keselowski last week, Steve gets to pick first for Martinsville. Steve, who you got?
Well, I made the wrong move with going to Keselowski because I completely forgot about Kevin Harvick and how good he is at Atlanta. So I'm going to get Wes back at some point. I'm looking at a guy, Virginia native. I pulled up his stats here. 28 starts at Martinsville, 5 wins, 15 top 5s, 21 top 10s, a 9.4 average finish, and over 1,500 laps led. I'm looking at the 11 of Denny Hamlin. It is hard to beat Denny Hamlin at Martinsville. And I think that even with this interim crew chief, Sam McCauley, right now, this 11 team has not missed a stride so far. So I'm looking for the 11 of Denny Hamlin to get his 6th Martinsville clock this weekend, or actually Wednesday night.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin, a great pick. I'd love to pick Denny Hamlin, but, I'm not picking Denny Hamlin. What number do you think of? What driver do you think of when you think of Martinsville all time? It's Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon, arguably the best driver ever to race at the Martinsville Speedway. And he took that number 24 car to victory lane 9 times. I think it's time for double digits for that number. I think the number 24 is going back to victory lane at Martinsville. William Byron gets his first ever win in the Cup Series at Martinsville. He had a great run in the fall race, finished second to Martin Truex Jr. I think William Byron, all his luck, it's been so bad. It's all just going to accumulate to a perfect finish for William Byron. He's going to win Wednesday night at Martinsville. He did win the showdown on iRacing at Martinsville. So I think it's going to correlate. William Byron, first career win at Martinsville. And now we're going to go to Kevin, who picked Kyle Busch, your second place finisher at Atlanta. Kevin, who's it going to be that gets you that one spot better?
Oh man, I haven't picked this driver the whole year, and he's my driver, so I don't know why I haven't done it yet. But I'm gonna go with Blaney, Ryan Blaney. He finished fourth last year at Martinsville, and he started on the pole tomorrow night. So I haven't picked him all year. I feel like if there's any track to do it, this is the one to do it for. So I feel like Blaney might be able to get the win tomorrow night under the lights.
And Wes was able to tie Steve by picking the winner, Kevin Harvick in Atlanta. Well, Wes, Steve couldn't go back-to-back. Can you go back-to-back, and who's going to lead you to that result?
Man, I don't know if we will because there's so many drivers. There's like 5 or 6 in particular, and I feel like you all picked 3 of the best that just dominate Martinsville. I feel like there's such a specific like range where it's hard to like pick somebody else that's outside of it. But right now, I'm kind of looking at the Penske cars. I feel like the Penske cars are showing incredible speed, and they've always shown incredible speed at Martinsville ever since pretty much they started racing at Martinsville. So since Kevin took Ryan Blaney, I'm actually going for a driver that's going to look for his third win in the last 5 races, and that's Brad Keselowski. Keselowski kind of got a little lucky in those 2 races with the victories. Not too much at Bristol because he was up front for quite a bit of the race. But out of all the tracks that they've gone to this year, he's still been up front and contending in the top 5 or 10, pretty much all of them except maybe 1 or 2. But I think that Keselowski, this is one of his best tracks, and he has a lot of momentum right now in his favor. He's going to be starting pretty close to the front, and I feel like if he can get up there, especially with the speed that Penske's shown over the years at Martinsville, this is going to be a track that he might be able to get another victory because he does look pretty good right now. So I'm going with Brad Keselowski to get his third win, like I said, in the past 5 races.
Now, Wes, if Brad Keselowski doesn't win this week, are we going to be hearing some of this out of you?
Yeah, it's an entertainment sport, not a fair sport, but
are we going to be hearing that from you if Keselowski doesn't win?
I mean, what Keselowski said is true. This is an entertainment sport. It's not too much of a fair sport. Then again, especially since we're going to a short track like this, hey, it's beating and banging. Got to expect it just like we saw at Bristol. And hopefully with the package they have right now, we're going to see some good racing. So I'm looking forward to it. I hate that I'm going to miss the first like 2/3 of it, but I think that it's going to be excellent, especially the second half. I'm looking forward to the third stage. I feel like the third stage is going to be crazy because if we get a finish like we saw when, Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin were battling out, or including last year with Truex and William Byron coming there in the last like 40 laps, I feel like we're going to see some just an incredible battle, especially with all the drivers right now. I feel like all these driver changes, I feel like it's opened up doors for new opportunities. You've seen William Byron struggle, and you picked William Byron this year especially. He's struggled, but almost got his first win there last year. Got Matt DiBenedetto looking good. We've got Austin Dillon looking great this year. I feel like there's all these drivers that that have just through these driver changes have looked really, really well this year in certain races. So I feel like it's going to make for a really entertaining race.
And so just to recap, Steve picked Denny Hamlin, I picked William Byron, Kevin picked Ryan Blaney, and Wes picked Brad Keselowski. Now, before we go, last question, just a yes or no answer. Do we see a last lap pass or a last lap wreck for the win at Martinsville? Steve?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Wes?
I'm going for a no. I feel like it's too risky.
All right. That's More than one word, but we'll take it anyway.
No.
I'm going with no. I think the leader on the last lap wins. I know I just, basically scolded Wes for saying more than one word, but I'm the host. It's okay. I can say that.
Good.
But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoy the Wednesday night Martinsville race as much as we do. And we're going to be here later this week to just recap it all. Might be a long episode if we got a lot of stuff going on. And we'll talk about Homestead this weekend. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you after Martinsville.